Welcome to another Keelhauled podcast. I'm your host, CaptainLogun, and this is the last episode of the podcast. Tie yourselves to the mast and hold fast. Ahoy there, pirates. I hope you had yourselves a good week and a good weekend. I know I did. This week, we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of stuff, actually. Caleb is joining me this episode for the last episode of Keelhauled, and we're going to be sitting down to talk about Sea of Thieves, Sea of Thieves 2, Sea of Thieves Classic, what made Sea of Thieves great, what could make Sea of Thieves worth jumping into again, where they could go, where they couldn't go, what's been going on, and just about everything else. It's a very long episode as I send off the podcast. I just want to say thank you to everyone who's listening to this, whether it be at the time of release or in the future. Like I say at the end of the episode, I hope that this podcast serves as a time capsule, a way for people to go back and listen to the history of Sea of Thieves, beyond just the marketing videos that were put out by Rare or, interesting things that happen in game, but really from a community's perspective, to allow us to kind of embrace the history of Sea of Thieves over the last 8 years. Truly has been an honor to serve you all with this content, and I hope that you continue to enjoy Sea of Thieves or whatever floats your boat. I hope that you enjoy it. I hope that you're taking care of yourselves. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the patrons, whether you have supported and have stopped at some point, whether you're supporting up to the very end, where you're just barely finding this and wish you could have supported. Thank you all so much to you. It is painful to honestly kind of shut things down, and I'm going to miss this. And maybe in the future I'll come in and we'll kick things back up. But for now, I want to put to rest this endeavor for now until such a time that I feel like I can come back and be passionate the way I want it to be throughout the entire history and throughout the entire longevity of the game. But thank you so much. Everything you guys all do for me, everything you've ever done for me, it really has meant the world to me. And I want you to know that I'm still going to be around. I'm still going to keep the Discord up. Still going to be playing Sea of Thieves. Still going to be keeping up with the news. Still going to be talking about it. But for now, I hope you guys enjoy this episode. Welcome everyone to the last Keelhauled podcast episode that I'm going to be putting out for the foreseeable future. I thought it would be good to have friends on for the last few episodes. And while I did have a good episode with Davram from Pirate Talk Radio, I thought it would be fitting to have none other than Caleb join me for the last episode. We went sailing a little bit ago, but it's one of those things where I have had some regulars on the show, and Caleb was one of those folks that came out of nowhere, and thanks to a connection from friends that we've worked with mutually in the past, he ended up managing to find a way onto the podcast and subsequently help out from time to time when I have needed to be gone and do episodes as well. So I've been very grateful to him over the years for wanting to join and talk about Sea of Thieves, but also just help out with the podcast, as this is typically a one-man show. But I wanted to bring him on for the last episode so that we can kind of talk about the history of Sea of Thieves, but also what's going on with Sea of Thieves currently and what is probably going to or not going to happen in the foreseeable future. So Caleb, creator of Tide Blazers, Trailblazers, all kinds of blazers, who've been blazing trails forever in podcasting. Welcome to the show for not the first time, but for the time being, the last time.
Yes, well, thank you so much. I find it an honor to be on your last regularly scheduled podcast. Thank you so much. I did manage to squirm my way onto this podcast and hopefully into your heart by simply asking. Jeff and Control Robinson, the late great, said, just ask. What's the worst that can happen is they say no. Now, a lot of people have said that in the world, but he said it regarding specifically trying to talk to, your heroes and people, content creators that you might want to work with. And so, yeah, I remember just shooting my shot, sending you an email being like, hey, I want to come on. I've done other podcasts. You can listen and hear. I'm not just some rando who doesn't know how to be entertaining. And little did I know that you also knew a fellow named Danny who I'd worked with in the past. Yeah, it just worked out like that. Isn't that funny the way things work?
Yeah.
I think you told me you secretly then asked him, like, you know about this guy?
I did. I saw, because you sent me a link to your stuff, and I was like, oh, Tales of the Lich. I listened to that because of my buddy Danny, who I used to do StarCraft content or in Heroes of the Storm content with. I used to help him out on Heroes of the Storm socials and stuff, and I used to try and build overlays for him for StarCraft too. So that back in the day when it was like you wanted to have like an overlay for streaming. So I came up with like themes and stuff that would like way back in the day, playing around with Photoshop. And I reached out to him and I was like, do you know this Caleb person? He's like, yeah, I worked with him on Tales. And I was like, is he cool? Is it like, would you be comfortable saying like whether or not you could recommend him coming onto the Sea of Thieves? Because Danny was into Sea of Thieves as well too, for a while. Not like a lot, but definitely into it. Shout out to the friends that I have out in New Mexico. I miss them. I should chat with them more often. But he was like, yeah, you'd be good working with him. And I was like, okay, cool. So you came in and I think we recorded a couple episodes over time. And I remember the way that you approached it was always very, very different than what was kind of like a normal episode. And I remember so much backlash that people were like messaging me about how abrasive you were. And it was funny because I was always like, oh, this is just a good person to talk back and forth with, a good person to have like a what's the devil's advocate with. And very much like just always been kind of our conversations and stuff like that. But over the years, I think you and I have always kind of enjoyed just kind of chatting about stuff in general. And I think go ahead.
Don't worry. In my podcast, I received the same feedback. Lots of early feedback was great. Caleb yells a lot. And, they weren't wrong. And they're not wrong. It's true. I agree. I can be a Brillo pad. I'm just anything. I will sacrifice almost anything on the altar of trying to be funny, which, folks, isn't a good trait. Yeah, I am still proud of it. Fight me.
I think just before we sat down to record, I sent you this meme that I found while digging through photos of like a guy cracking his knuckles and then cracking his neck and then stretching his legs and then pressing the caps lock button. I was like, Caleb getting ready for a podcast.
Well, also, you do a solo podcast, which I always give you credit for. It's a very, very, very tough thing to do. And then all of a sudden have a rando come in who is, goes from 0 to 11. I can see why listeners, and I'm glad I get to be here at the final end for those people that don't like me. Yeah,
we'll christen the last episode.
Let's be very clear. At least I'm not Davram. On the scale of abrasiveness,
Davram is great for telling it like it is.
At least I'm not Falcor.
Falcor doesn't play Sea of Thieves anymore. What are you talking about?
Oh, my bad.
No, it's funny to kind of be, I thought I would be doing this podcast forever. And part of me still wants to keep doing the podcast because I keep seeing like information coming out from Rare and I keep thinking like, oh, it's like we're just on the cusp of stuff coming down the line. And it keeps, like part of me still wants to like keep making episodes and stuff. But at the same time, I keep thinking like, what is the content quality going to be like? Am I going to be happy with what I'm putting out? And one of the things I think really kind of epitomized how I feel about not only the podcast, but Sea of Thieves in general is when you asked me, you said yesterday that you had a couple hours before you were going to sit down to record another podcast. And you asked if I wanted to jump in to do some Sea of Thieves. And part of me instantly just had that sense of like, oh, do I really want to jump into Sea of Thieves? And it's because I feel like there's no desire no passion to do that. And then part of me was like, you know what? I do want to jump into Sea of Thieves, but I don't want to jump into Sea of Thieves because of what Sea of Thieves is up to right now. I wanted to jump into Sea of Thieves because I enjoy sailing and doing stuff with my friends. And I was like, this is going to be a good opportunity for you and me to like hang out and actually just like see how things are going. It's very much in the same way that you play through Resident Evil games. And when you do play through Resident Evil games, I usually hang out in the Discord chat and just watch you stream it just for me, like a, party of one kind of thing. And that's kind of just our way of spending time and hanging out together.
Yeah, I've got fond memories of doing Resident Evil 4 remakes shooting gallery with you, trying to get those perfect scores. There are people who I'm very close with or have been very close with in the past who I keep up with less than people I'm not as close to, because the people I'm not as close to play games, and playing games is a way I easily hang out with people. So I'll hang out more with them than those other people because they don't play games, or they don't play the kind of games I play, or they do, but they don't have like a Discord or something they want to get in a call with. It's a big way I hang out. I've got some very close friends who live near me, but adult lives are busy, and you just can't get together the way you can on jumping on a quick call and playing a game for a few minutes or whatever.
Yeah. And it's funny too, because I have some good friends that live in California that I moved away from, not on purpose, but just because I wanted to be closer to A-Chick and friends over on the East Coast. And it's like I get calls from them, and it's so funny because it's like I have to like step away from what I'm doing at the moment to be like, no, I need to take this call, because I don't talk to them the way I used to when I would just go out and hang out with them. And it's like you want to make sure that you're taking like that extra bit of time and effort to keep in contact with those other folks, as opposed to just jumping into a game and doing some silly stuff for a while. And it's so funny how that kind of like ease of access can do wonders for relationships when it's like a mutual thing. Yeah. And it's so funny when people don't play that same game anymore, that you feel like you just don't talk or hang out with them as much as a result.
Well, I mean, if I could spill the tea for but a moment, I've sailed with you and A-Chick. And I was like, okay, I'm going to walk away for a second, let them handle this little spat they're having out loud, and I'll come back and maybe it'll be over.
Yeah, it was genuinely like perspectives trying to discern, like, because it's, when you see like a boat and you kind of keep an eye on the boat, and then you lose track of the boat, and then you forget what the boat looked like, and then you're like, no, I'm pretty sure I know what that boat was. Sure. And then you just you cannot agree on what the boat looked like.
What it reeked to me of was early relationship, and I don't mean romantic, I just mean a relationship with another person. Of just you're just starting to figure each other out, and what you would do in person, I'm seeing happening in game. Somehow we've gone to the philosophical route of connecting in a digital world. That's what the episode's about now. Sorry, guys. But that's what it was to me. I was just watching you guys in what seemed to be early interactions as you got used to each other's personalities. As much as if you listen to you and me's first episode and you listen to it now, you'd hear some of those early, gears grinding on each other until you get into sync.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's funny looking at it now, because I feel like we have like such a natural conversation especially when we're talking about Sea of Thieves and stuff, and just some of the things that have been going on. And it's ironic because we're coming together to talk about Sea of Thieves now, and it doesn't feel like there's really going to be a whole lot going on to talk about.
Yeah, you talked about when I first came on, and the manner in which I came on. I'm coming on from a podcast which was kind of built like an episode of a session of class, a teaching session. I'd have like, here's the things I want to cover, bullet points, and I would teach a subject in my episode. Here's how to play the fighter. Here's how to, here's a GM tip or whatever. And that would be that. So when I came on, I had kind of the same mentality. I had a topic and I wanted to talk about it, and here are the bullet points.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny because as we're looking at like what's going on with Sea of Thieves right now, it very much feels like we're going to have to weather the storm, or at least folks, playing the game are going to be weathering the storm for a while, because we just recently got a Sea of News video that came out, and it's honestly quite the shame, because I don't think that there was anything like egregious in the video. but it just didn't have anything of real note to come out, especially for a mid-season video, when you kind of like in the past, this would be like Act 2 announcement of stuff that's coming to Sea of Thieves. But we did get the news video that came out. And to be honest, it was really just kind of a bit of a rehash of stuff that we kind of know going in, thanks to the July post that talked about what was going to happen with Sea of Thieves. So fight nights coming out every Tuesday, and those going to be just like a bit of a double on the reputation and earnings for dives, hourglass battles. We also have the update coming on July 3rd, which is going to add in some new improvements and adjustments to custom seas, and them adding more content to the Pirate Emporium and the outpost shops.
Are you sure that's July 3rd? I thought they said that was the 23rd.
Did I say 3rd? Yeah, sorry, I meant 23rd.
And it only just now occurs to me July 3rd is in the past, so of course you couldn't. So we're both done.
Yeah, very much the case. Yeah, so this Thursday, July 23rd, coincidentally, also the day that Splatoon Raiders and Halo Campaign Evolved launch. So definitely no competition for people's times on that one.
I have a Pathfinder game that Thursday, and I told them, I'm sorry guys, I need to come up with a reason to cancel Thursday. I think I'm planning on being sick that day because Halo's coming out, and if you think I can play Pathfinder while thinking about elites and war, you got it twisted.
Well, the good news is that there's plenty of lettuce out there that can help you with that if you need to, which is a very timely reference and not going to age well at all.
Yeah.
But there's the update is coming on the 23rd for introducing some changes to custom seas, as well as the new stuff to the Pirate Emporium. Duke and Lorena are going to be getting expanded libraries of content as well, with Duke adding the hull for the silver coin ship set, which I believe would have been like the shop set or the plunder pass set that they had if they were still doing the old season pass system. That is the set that is now going to be available, or that hull is going to be available for Duke, as well as I think the Bone Crusher hat that you didn't have originally.
That's correct, and that's not coming. That's out now with the Weekender that's happening right now as date of recording.
Oh, okay. See, that's where I'm getting stuff.
Every Weekender is going to, both of them will add stuff to their stock. Refresh in the case of the Wii, and add in the case of Duke.
And that's always going to be the weekend prior to the monthly updates. So like in August, when the weekend, or when the update for August comes around, which will probably be the 20th of August, that 14th will probably be the Bilge Rat Weekender that adds in the new stuff to do. Did you want to jump into the Weekender, since we did play a little bit of it?
Yeah, sure. They're doing which I think is a nice choice, where each Weekender they bring back an old event. I think it's a really great way to bring back old events. This one they're doing, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but it's where you find those washed up bottles, legendary washed up bottles.
Legends Week.
So we haven't seen that in a while. That's up right now. You do some of those to get some doubloons, and then the standard Bilge Rat stuffs of the lost shipment and the cargo delivery.
What do you think about those cargo deliveries and lost shipments?
I think, it has forever been a goal of them, and I think the community's agreed, to try to have high value stuff to fight over. And this, like anything that's come before, has really screamed, hey, this will be it. And then it didn't. Or it was only briefly. I remember I maybe have fought off one person in all the Bilge Rat weekends for the cargo. It's the same route, so the expect, okay, I can go here, I can come to this route to fight and try to steal the loot from people. And people were concerned about diving, making it so you don't run into people as often, emptying servers. Well, diving has been greatly reduced this season, and I'm still not seeing a lot of engagement of people trying to steal these things. So, it was good intentions. I don't know how much cargo deliveries of the merchant was a thing that we wanted to copy from because it was so much fun, and we've seen it copied endlessly with the sovereigns, and this is all loot that goes to the smugglers. So it's not the greatest, but not the most boring. I will say doing the ones where you have to dive into a lost shipment sort of deal, where you have to go to the sunken ship and fight off sirens. It's been a good way to grind some sirens for my milestone, but there was so little coin reward for that, doubloon reward for that. Boy, the time to reward ratio is a little small there. I will say it has people for a long time have been screaming, make it so that there was a cosmetic in the chest, so I could steal the chest, steal the cosmetic. There's been a recurring cosmetic that takes something from an old season pass, some discreet thing. In this case, it's the pufferfish hat. If you turn one in, and I still, again, with the same thing, haven't seen people fought over it. The two things I remember the most, and I think certainly the community will agree with me here, is back when there was those Reaper runs, and back we had the loot pool was so much smaller. It's really bloated. People who don't know this, I haven't played for a long time, don't know. Man, seeing a captain's chest, that golden gold hoarder chest, was like, whoa, that's a lot of money. And you got exclusively those, and you knew people were going to be there, and you were constantly coming across people who had 25 plus of those chests on their ship, and you wanted to sink them, and you would go, oh, I got a huge windfall in cash and all that. You can't recreate that now. The game has expanded so much. And the other time, of course, was the initial release of the Siren Skull. We all remember being chased there many times, trying to get it delivered while I'm fighting off nerds or trying to steal it while they're trying to get it delivered. People setting traps and stuff like that. Those are the two most successful I can think of. Even now with doubloons being reduced in the way you can get them, Reaper chests supposedly being more valuable to steal from people, and there's beacon in the sky, come get them. Even that I'm not seeing a lot of fighting over. It is what seems to me to now be an unsolvable problem of trying to get people to engage, try to get them to fight over this really great, magnificent piece of loot.
I think the last six, and I think, to be perfectly honest, I think the Chest of Fortune is still like one of the biggest things that people go chasing after. And I think the trouble is that a lot of that event is dependent on the type of event that it is. When it was the Burning Blade, they don't really want to go engage with it because the Burning Blade is not a really fun event for people to really do. You have to, unless you're literally just jumping onto the ship, running down, grabbing the Chest of Fortune, and then subsequently leaving. There's not many people engaging with that world event.
Sure.
And I feel like the Chest of Fortune on the Skeleton Fort, the Fort of Fortune is one that more people like to engage with more than any of the others. It was
clear, hey, this fort is going to have a Chest of Fortune. The guy engaging with it is going to have it for me to steal, to stop, maybe intercept him from it. Now that's like any fort, any world event, not so much knowing, hey, are they going to have it or not? I agree. Yeah.
Not to mention the ease of having one completed as a solo sloop player. You could knock out an Ashen Winds in a very short amount of time. And it's like there's very little opportunity for other crews to really get to you and engage in those, compared to back in the day when people were still trying to figure out how to play the game, and we didn't have blunder bombs or skeleton chests or mega kegs or anything like tridents. We didn't have Disney sticks to knock out waves faster. It was, you having to fight waves of skeletons that all you had was your gun and your sword, and that was it. There was no quick way to wipe out waves. So it took a while to clear out a fort. And that was when people was like, okay, well, I can't change servers easily. the supplies that I have here are worth a lot in the sense of time. So I'm going to go and engage with that content because I can't quickly pick up and go when it comes to more supplies, which was they fixed some of those issues as far as like the playtime aspect of the game goes over the years. But it has kind of led to that sense of like, do I really need to engage with this, or can I go to another server or just do something else in the interim and get just as much money or reputation in that kind of aspect?
Listen, when the Fort of Fortune first got released, world events did not adjust themselves, or at least not very well, to the player count or the ship size. So that was a long fort, no matter what you were doing. If you were solo, cool. And that used to be even bigger. They used to have the Fort of Fortune, no matter your size, even if you had a crew of 4, was a longer thing, and they since reduced it. Yeah, that used to be a long time to come contest that hide on. Oh, the number of people who've hidden on that fort waiting for the other team to finish it up. People talk about with wide eyes when forts first came out and how you would try to fight over that and hide over that, and it would be something that if you went to it, people were coming to contest you. I felt that way for the first time since I wasn't playing when forts were first introduced with the Fort of Fortune. I felt like I never went there and it was peaceful.
Yeah. And it's something interesting about the community, because I feel like the community has shifted over the years from playing Sea of Thieves as an adventure game and treating it like a pirate simulator, as opposed to what it tends to feel like more nowadays, which is a lot more kind of focused on like pushing into a first person shooter kind of perspective. Like you and I sail from time to time, and every once in a while we'll go and actually just talk to other crews. And that is something that I hope never changes with Sea of Thieves, because I think there's something awesome about running into crews that you can actually chat with. But so often with like forts and stuff back in the day, there were conversations being had. There was actual discussions and potential betrayals and stuff. But it was a lot more of a parlay on whether or not you were going to work with another crew on a fort, because back then it genuinely took a long time. And sometimes having another crew with you did two things. It pushed the fort a little bit faster. You could get through the waves a little bit quicker. And it also kind of afforded you a little bit of a backup plan with dealing with other crews on the server. And that way it was like, instead of it just being one crew versus another crew, it was now 2 crews versus another crew. And if the agreement was honored, then you would split up the loot, but some loot was still better than no loot. And that was always kind of that kind of trepidatious ground you had to walk back in the day.
I remember going to ships that were doing the Fort of Fortune, and as soon as I ascertained they were a new crew, I'd be like, I'm going to help you finish off this fort, and I just asked that I can grab one piece of loot. Oh, yeah, sure, bud. And so we do the whole fort. I grabbed the chest of fortune. They didn't realize how valuable it was. And even to them, compared to all the other loot, it probably isn't as valuable. So I'm like, I just want this the rest of yours. And they would be like so grateful. Like, look at this huge loot pile we get to get. And so I got the thing I wanted out of it. They got the thing they wanted out of it. Just our last sailing session, we met some people to do some build rat challenges with who were new, didn't even know how to throw an alliance up.
Yeah. It's always so funny to come across crews who are fresh, because you feel it's essentially, for me at least, I still feel very much like a steward who wants to try and like be a good representation of the community for folks like that. So I'm always willing to give them a bit of leeway, because I'd rather they kind of work things out over time and not feel like it's so oppressive. It's the difference between walking into a multiplayer match against bots versus going in and getting thrown into some sweaty lobbies and just getting completely destroyed. And the next thing you know, you can't even get out of the spawn. You spawn and instantly die. And I'm like, that's not fun for me. I would like to enjoy the game a bit and kind of learn as I go. And that's kind of the nice thing about Sea of Thieves, is that you can still run into players like that. And the learning curve is truly just time and chirping.
They're trying, the build trap sort of is trying to have both. Make this valuable loot that you want people to fight over, but also, hey, there's these challenges, and there's always at least one that you need to do with another crew, so that you can have some of the happy friendship, let's watch fireworks together, and some of the, I'm going to go and try to steal this thing from you. And I personally, and I know there's a lot of players out here like this, who I enjoy not getting attacked at all, not running into anybody, just enjoying the adventure aspect of the game, and zipping around and accomplishing what I want to accomplish without having to worry about getting bodied by some guy that's much, much better than me. There's a lot of people out there who don't want that one thing that we're all going to fight over and try to get. They just want to get their 5 things turned in. I did this Build Rats weekend. I didn't want to have to fight over. I just want to get my 5 things turned in. Just wasn't feeling the fights this weekend. We must admit that, right?
Yeah. I think it's... I don't know. I've always loved the sense of role play in Sea of Thieves. As a first person game, I've always felt very connected to my personal pirate. I've always felt like they're the embodiment of how I would act in the world. And I mean, maybe to a fault, because you experience my desire to deny loot to anyone,
yes,
regardless, on a regular basis. And even when it's like, it doesn't serve any point. It's like, there's no, how much are they really going to get from the couple of crates of supplies and the level 4 Hunter's Call flag that we're flying? Is it really that big a deal?
You were not putting that flag to get the, 2,500 gold. You were putting down the flag so that they didn't get the gold from turning it in.
It's 100% true. Like, I don't care if I don't get the gold. I only care if other people
nearly
get gold
brand
that I
new
gave
players
them.
on this galleon, and you were like, well, you could have been playing for 3 minutes. You're not getting this.
They got to work harder. They got to work hard if they want this flag.
This is an introduction to the Sea of Thieves, bro.
You want this flag, you got to earn it.
We had a nice karma moment where they DM'd us, turn around and fight us, and so I bodied them for a little bit and kept them anchored for a bit before you ran around. And like, so do you still want us to turn around, or you good?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing is I feel like, between the two of us, humble brag, undefeated in last ship standing as a crew.
Yes. Of our, let me check my notes. Single match. Yep.
Yeah.
As long as we don't play it again, we will keep that title.
Yeah, that's it's the thing about undefeated. We could have probably turned around and genuinely sank them if we wanted to. I have no qualms that like with the supplies that we had, with the knowledge that we had, how you were able to lock down the boat twice. I think it would have been fairly easy for us to be able to have like sunk them, but that wasn't my desire. I didn't necessarily need, and I think that's what I love about Sea of Thieves is you have that agency. This isn't, fight to the death. It is very much, I am going to annoy you and get away from you to secure my, the age old saying of every villain ever, he who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. And I feel like I embody that Skeletor in me so well, like until next time, He-Man, kind of.
You've been running around as a skeleton pirate, so I guess it makes sense.
That's fair. Where is the Skeletor outfit?
You just need to get the blue bones cosmetic.
Yeah. That's what
Don't worry, I think you only need to get
need.
something like level, oh my gosh, what is it? It's awful. It's really close to the end. It's like level 200 or something. Have fun.
God, I absolutely despise
Maybe it's 190.
Hourglass.
Yeah, it's not great.
Absolutely.
I've got a question for you.
Yeah.
I kind of came to light here as we talked about things, as things have changed, that sort of stopped Sea of Thieves from accomplishing things it could in the past because the nature of the game has changed. Although back to our Reaper Runs conversation. A lot of live service games, even games that are so old the term live service didn't exist. Now going back and offering a classic experience. WoW is a big one. Fortnite's a big one. Fortnite OG. WoW Classic, I think is what they call the WoW one.
Yeah.
Sea of Thieves, which has gotten so big and expanded so much, would you be interested if they said, we're doing a Sea of Thieves classic? Here it is, the way the game was when Shrouded Spoils came out.
You know what's funny about this? I think that was actually one of my thumbnails for an episode. Was Sea of Thieves classic. I think I'd have to go back and check to see like when it was. But yeah, there was absolutely like an episode where I'm pretty sure I talked about Sea of Thieves as like a classic version, doing fairly well, and having the benefits of what Sea of Thieves has learned over the years, having them kind of add some of the growth and stuff, but keeping it back to where the game was prior to when we had all of these tools, all of these. And I think that was always kind of the issue that I ran into is that Sea of Thieves kept adding tools to the world. And while they're fun, while they can be, they're good for, in some cases, they're good for actually having, some fun and environmental things that can happen, with like the different kegs or like grapple guns, things like that. While I think that a lot of those are cool and interesting, there is something about having that kind of initial experience in Sea of Thieves. And I genuinely think that there is a place where if you wanted to, you could go back to the first year, like the end of the first year of Sea of Thieves with the content that they had there as a classic mode and actually do really well as having that as like an option for folks that wanted to go back and play it that way. And I'm going to say right now, one of the things that I noticed about the Sea of Thieves Fest panel was the fact that many of the favorite moments that came from the rare panel that they talked about all happened to be right around that first year.
Oh man, I'm so glad you've talked about this. And I had more to say about this class experience, but I'm far more interested in this bridge you've given me to walk over to talk about the panel. Yes, I saw some clips from that panel and I heard exactly what you're talking about. When asked what their favorite things were, almost all the answers I heard were Tall Tales. Anniversary update. Oh, when we first introduced Tall Tale. Oh yeah, it's gonna be Pirate's Life. Oh, so the Pirate's Life Tall Tale. Somebody went, I think maybe the other answer was Monkey Island. I don't. Yep. That is right. Okay. Monkey
Island was one of
So
them.
funny how like so many of the answers were the Tall Tales, the story. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Sea of Thieves story, but I know that you have been saying for a long time, and a lot of the community has been like, we want more story. And then when you ask the devs, what are your favorite parts? They go, oh yeah, the story. Yeah, when we released big parts of the story. Oh yeah, this huge part of the story. What's the disconnect here? The devs want it, we want it, and it's not happening? I'm question mark.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting to me because I used to do whenever they had like the next adventure, they actually had a team that was working on the cinematics for those, like Shrouded Deeps, Legend of the Veil, Forts of the Forgotten. I did like trailer breakdowns on those based on what I thought was going to be interesting of those. And to this day, that was something that I absolutely loved doing. I loved doing a real, like a kind of watch through, take a look and see what they were actually doing, and then come back and actually do a full on kind of like breakdown of what we can expect with that story. And to be perfectly honest, it's one of those things that I genuinely miss the story that they were telling. And it's one of those things that I want to know, like, what is it about Rare right now that they feel so compelled to stray away from Tall Tales? Is it because it's a live service game? And if that's the case, I genuinely think to myself, like, I'll be honest, go ahead and kill the fact that you need to add content to the game as a live service. Focus on Tall Tales and make those DLCs if you guys want to, because I feel like a lot of people enjoy the game in a state when it's working, that they're just content to actually play the game and do those chases. But I know people want to have things to chase.
People get real mad when there's content on the disc, to use an old phrase, that you have to unlock with a code. That stuff would have to exist in the world. Like imagine, say, all the gold hoard tall tales, and it's like, oh, it's here, I just can't play it until I give you money. That I think would rub a lot of people the wrong way. That's
true. But we also haven't had to actively invest money into Sea of Thieves since you actually bought the game. Especially if you're on PC. If you're on console, you obviously have to have access to Xbox Game Pass Basic or something, whatever it's called nowadays, to have access to multiplayer.
Logan, they're selling ships for like $60 a pop, ship sets. I'm not crying over their finances.
No, and I'm not either. And they're still very successful. So make no mistake, like Rare is making enough money to continue making what they're making. That very much is like not an issue for them. But it does feel like they should be focusing on the thing that really is the main driver for Sea of Thieves, which is the story. Like we have so many loose ends that don't get tied up. We have so many like plots that have been revealed and talked about but never focused on or ended. And there's so many questions about like what is going on. Like there's a new curse that's associated with Wanda the Warsmith in Sea Dog Tavern. In the you go up there after you've gotten your super smuggler, you talk to them, and there's a genuinely good bit of story in there, but it's not revealed. Like Rare isn't talking about to go do this. Like there should be things pointing to like people to go check it out, and there's not. And at that point, it's basically one of those situations. It's like Rare has legitimately put a good little breadcrumb trail of like content that's going to be coming, like the potential of splitting the Shroud and expanding the Sea of Thieves to new areas, or at least venturing to new places by being able to traverse through the Shroud. To use the Glimmerfish, which is Bell, to be able to traverse to new zones. And we can't talk about that because they haven't talked about it, but they've hinted at it, but they refuse to point people to it. So at that point, it's like in the community's mind, there's nothing to really look forward to with the story. But that's the one thing that Rare keeps going back to, is this is the thing that we love. We love doing the tall tales. We love having those experiences, but they don't want that as like the main driver. It feels odd. It feels like a huge disconnect from what they know is popular and what they revere, as opposed to what they have to do as a live service game. I went back to one of the Pirate's Life Tall Tales to get that sword, and then I kept going. I did another one, and I fully intend on keeping going and finishing the old Pirate's Life Tall Tales, because it was just so much fun to do that. I get that it's not the most replayable content ever, but everyone has been talking about, and this has been, I told Logan I had a secret thing that I looked up and got details for him. I was like, what was it? I want to know. I'm like, you'll see. Here it is. I'm ready to pop it out. You ready for this? Yeah. A lot of people are talking about and saying, they said on a Sea of Thieves panel at Sea of Thieves Fest that there's not going to be any new content for the next 6 months. And I've heard this repeated a lot from people who were there. And nobody could get me an exact quote or a clip from the panel. A lot of people were just like, I'm pretty sure that's what they said. And I'm sure you could think back, Logan, of times I've done research for this show, and I've sent a message out to the Discord. It's like, hey, does anyone remember this or that? And I'll get some answer that doesn't exactly answer the question. I'm like, that's cool. Where'd you cite your source? I need your source, bud. I'm pretty sure. I'm like, oh yeah, it's cool. I'm pretty sure too. I want a source. So I did the same sort of autistic focus on this one, and I got a clip from the panel that I think is what everyone's been referring to. And I think it would be a huge use to the community if we got the exact quote so we know what we're all talking about. Would you agree? yes, I think it's better to speak on what was actually said as opposed to the secondhand commentary that I think you actually asked me the other day if I thought it was like if there was anything to the 6 months of no content, and I was like, I honestly would take that with a grain of salt because I don't think that that's exactly the truth. I think that there's just what is planned is being delayed because of where they are in the pipeline.
Mm-hmm. On the panel that had, from what I could see from the footage, 5 devs. One developer said, I'm going to quote, "The game not being at its best right now, and one of the things we want to spend the next few months doing is making Sea of Thieves be the best version of Sea of Thieves that it can be." End quote. Shout out to the YouTuber Acute Candy Slop, which is my source, so you can go and look at that same source. He uploaded this and talked about it. And this developer wasn't a big name. It's somebody that I don't know who he is. I've not seen his face before. But so I don't know how much we want to say we're guaranteed the next 6 months we're not getting anything, when a dev who's not very face forward gave this quote saying, we want to spend the next few months making Sea of Thieves be the best version of Sea of Thieves that it can be. That can mean a lot, and I think we may have jumped a little too far saying 6 months, definitely no content. New content.
Yeah. I'm going to say right now, like, I hate when, because I just had this conversation actually on my other podcast with Luke Lohr for Expansion Pass, when there's comments that come out from people who are reporting on news, but the embellishment of the person who's reporting on it gets taken as fact for what was said. Mm-hmm. Instead of using the source and citing the source as the thing that actually was said, and not taking the I can't think of the word, but the kind of like the rehashing of what was said. Mm-hmm.
Yes, everyone's reporting on the same speculation and reporting on the people who were reporting on, who were repeating on who were reporting on that same thing, instead of multiple multiple outlets going to a source and getting info for themselves, which you might see in a more mainstream media, a more mainstream reporting practices.
Yeah. So I very much like folks are talking about the fact that there's or the narrative going around is that there's no content for 6 months.
Yeah, and one guy said, I got it from a source, no content for 6 months. Somebody asked your source, and he goes, he wants to remain anonymous. Well, dude, you are not a reliable media source here. I don't know how much I can be confident that your anonymous source isn't you making it the heck up. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you even asked me like how do news reporters or how do journalists traditional media
journalists is the word I'm looking for.
Journalists, how do journalists handle anonymous sources? And I said time, because that is the only way to prove out whether or not someone is actually going to be factual or accurate when it comes to like letting out information early or something that isn't accurate, or something that isn't like explicit. When Rare says that, when Rare says there's no or they want to focus on making the game feel good again over the next few months, they could be talking about season 20, and that few months is already being taken into account. They could mean season 21, but from my perspective, I would say don't take that as there's no content for 6 months. Take that as the focus is going to be on stability and patches and fixes, with some content still coming. Right. But the focus is just going to be on stability, on fixing the betterment of the game.
What they got working against them is everyone's ready to believe it. We've been for a while feeling a content drought. And then I remember the reaction when they had their podcast out and they said, hey, the new season's going to be about custom seas. And then there was a lot of people coping, to use a sort of aggressive phrase, being like, but there's something else secret they haven't told us yet, right? It can't just be custom seas. There's got to be more stuff. I mean, certainly people are trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. People were like, well, all they talked about was custom seas. Like, no. There's got to be more content, and there wasn't. Mm-hmm. it's been a while where we've just been looking for something new. And so to hear this news, we're like easily believable because we haven't had it for a while. And it feels like the last 9 updates are about Last Ship Standing, and Last Ship Standing feels like old news. How are we still getting adjustments to it? What are you talking about? That's your big marquee thing in the next update, is that you've made more changes to Last Ship Standing. Hoorah. I want to remind everybody, I want to talk about a time when we just talked about what classic Sea of Thieves, what is your favorite, and we talked about what their favorite updates were. And by the way, one of the things they did mention adventures on that panel. We go back and we think about all these things, and the marquee easy ones to talk about, the ones they mentioned. Everyone loved that anniversary update. It was great. Everyone loved the Pirate's Life. Because also, by the way, the Pirate's Life came with, soon afterwards, a lot of stuff into the game. It came with a bunch of new enemies, which we've been crying about forever. Came with the underwater stuff, the shrines. It came with the sea forts. A lot of stuff that was in those tall tales got filtered out into the world, which was great and fun. One of the things I'll answer if you ask me that question was around season 9, around early 2023. There was a bunch of updates that aren't big, flashy, huge new pieces of content, but they're things that you would not want to live without today. It is harpooning loot and it automatically being put on your ship. Do you want to live without that right now? Yeah, me neither. It was being able to pick things up with the collector's chest without putting it down and putting them directly into the collector's chest. It was Hourglass allowing you to fight the same faction. It was Hourglass allowing you to match make across regions and across servers, and I forget their exact phrasing. It was, here's a huge one, ship supplies floating up after you sank that ship. Some really huge, amazing things that were... A phrase you just used, or a similar phrase, was about a quality of life, stabilization. I forget exactly what you said, but these sort of things on the Sea of Thieves. And if that's what we're going to get coming up, that would be great. That's not what I think everyone's sensing right now. We're kind of sensing some less impactful stuff. That time was amazing. It was a couple months, early 2023, and I wouldn't want to live without those updates. They were great. Oh, you know what else it was? It was balance passing on the world events, and just like we were talking about earlier, that it used to not be like this. It was balancing it, the loot, and how difficult the event was based on the ship size / number of players there. Another thing that we all enjoy. So there was some real good quality stuff. If that's what we're looking down the barrel of, I'm happy, except that we got that in early 2023 after we just had some big content updates. And then after it, we went back to getting some big content updates. If we're now getting a bunch of quality of life things, as good as they are, it's happening after a dry spell. So it's going to feel like a dry spell on top of a dry spell, which doesn't feel great. Now, for the longest time, for literally years, they've been talking about their pipeline, how they approach updates and things, and they never seem to settle into something good. Maybe two times ago I came on the show, I talked about kind of their cycle of how they do updates and them never like settling into something that they feel they can maintain. Maybe this is them a part of finally solving that problem, and the answer is something we don't like, which is a lot slower content, but that's the only way it works without burning out with the resources they have. And that might suck to hear, but maybe that's finally what's happening, and that's probably a good thing to have happen. But it just hurts when there's so little content. I was pretty disheartened on the update video because it was so little. We're all just waiting for him to tell us what's next. On Insiders, ever since it went public, they would post on Insiders, here's what the next season is, here's what we're looking to filter into Insiders to update to test these different features. And a lot of times we wouldn't get all of them, but hey, here they gave us like a design document and we got to test things along the way. We haven't even seen that on Insiders. We haven't tested anything new. We've got no clue what's happening. It's put us in this limbo. It's very disheartening. And I think that's why everybody's ready to believe. No content for 6 months? Easy to believe. I haven't even seen it on Insiders.
Yeah. And to be clear, I think I may be rehashing old comments and stuff, but I still believe that what we're going to hit with season 21 will be the content that was due out in season 19. And then season 22 will most likely be what was intended for season 21. And that they've taken the time to say like, okay, we cannot put out the amount of content that we used to. And when we tried, it got extremely buggy and extremely there were marks. Someone named Mark that was consistently being missed. They didn't know where he was at all. It was very sad. They have yet to find him, but hopefully they do find him at some point. And I think that will come, but I think it's going to come down the line. And it's one of those things that I'm just kind of, at this point, I'm very much like ready to just let them cook. There's stuff to do in the game. There's things that you can go after. The live events are their buffer to try and like build out what they can do when they aren't beholden to a schedule that is going to insist that they have like content out there. And realistically, at the end of the day, I think this all kind of comes down to resting on the shoulders of the leaders in charge, whether it's the studio heads, whether it's the game director, whether it's the production managers, whether it's the other, like the engineers. The buck stops somewhere. I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the studio head to try and address like why the content has not been able to been hit. Why it has been in such a bad state. But additionally, it's just one of these situations where I think that they have to have this moment right now, which is kind of the reckoning of like them trying to do things in a way that is not going to be sustainable, for them to kind of realize, okay, we do need content, we do need story, we do need to have stuff pushed, but there still has to be a live aspect to the game. And one of the things that came out with the news video was they're finally doing the thing I asked them to do, Caleb. They finally, I don't know why it took so long for them to listen to me. I feel like I've got great ideas. I feel like there's no way that my ideas could fail. And they are going to be implementing weekly bonuses for emissaries come August, so that each week it'll be Athena's Fortune or Gold Hoarders or Merchant Alliance or Hunter's Call. And they're going to have bonuses for the emissaries during those weeks. And so you'll be able to see more flags come out that'll actually have people like sailing those flags for those things. That is a good step in the right direction, but they still need to address two things. One, the levels are capped right now, so anyone that's maxed out on their grades have no drive to push those companies anymore. And two, they need to have like valuable items during those times, like special voyages that have special items that go towards accommodation, or some sort of like carrot on the stick to engage with that more than it is, because otherwise it'll just turn into fodder for reapers to be able to go hunting around there. There has to be a reason for why you want to engage with it more than what's currently available. So I'm glad that they're doing this, but I also think that there may be still a couple steps that they need to take for it to be successful.
Well, I think I just heard something we were just talking about earlier of, I'll make it interesting enough that people want to do the thing. If classic Sea of Thieves came out, as much as it would be fun to do the old stuff, I would need an incentive. Give me some reason to play. If it's just another way to play and I can't progress make work towards any of the accommodations, milestones, anything, I'm not going to play it. There always needs to be a reason.
I think that is the struggle with custom seas right now. We're seeing a lot of focus on custom seas. It seems to me that Rare wants to prove that they can stick to something that they do, and that they aren't going to shy away from kind of reiterating or adding more to the content that they release. But again, it always comes back to this idea of, when will people engage with custom seas when it's a mode that people can't find progression in? And I think that there's like, if you were to do a Sea of Thieves Classic, it would need to link up to your pirate and have the same opportunities to engage with the content and the cosmetics available.
Do you play WoW Classic?
Otherwise, from time to time, I do.
What are its incentives to play as opposed to the main branch? Do you get like a whole new guy with 0 achievements, or does it build upon your account?
So it's all new. You have the opportunity to go back and complete stuff during the time that it was available originally, in the same manner that it was originally, but with the knowledge that you have now. So
do you get like the rewards that were available back then that you couldn't get before the Classic came back out?
So like you do, so a good example of this is, there's a worldwide server event that happens during one of the raid openings. And when WoW Classic first kicked up, there was a lot of interest because people were going to be able to try and go for that classic, mount in title that was previously a one-time thing.
Okay.
Now that character was stuck to classic. Now you could take it forward to the future classic expansions that they did, but it would never be anything that you could take over to retail and say, I got this role, I got this mount, and I can take it back to my retail account. It was always going to be part of the classic experience. But yes, you could go back and you could experience WoW and earn rewards and titles and things during that time with the same restrictions that you had back in the day. The only difference was we had min-maxed it now. Like, we totally understand exactly the number of things here, the specs, like the science had been worked out. Whereas back in the day, it was very devil may care. Like, you just kind of understood, like in some cases, a 40-man raid took 40 men because no one knew how to play their class. No one knew how to maximize it. Now that we have the science, it's like you can walk in there with 15 people and do 40 man worth of content because you understand how to play the class and the game a lot better.
Anyone said when they talk about StarCraft players, professional players, and a lot of times, just like in the boxing world or I bet many sports, you go, hey, the best guy of this era versus the best guy of this era, who would win? And a lot of pros would say the most recent guy, no matter what, because you just don't understand the things that we've learned over time that you can't. It doesn't matter if that guy could be teleported here and he could learn all that maybe, but you're just going against what Flash knew then. Flash is a bad example because he's the GOAT. He's a GOAT. What this guy learned back in the time now, I don't know. It's going to be real tough. The new guy's probably going to win. Even a bad new guy who's not a great pro could probably beat him. That's just the way it is with knowledge. So I could totally see how you get the 15 people and take it. Fortnite OG lets you keep everything. You can use new skins in it, and what you earn, what you progress in Fortnite OG is the same XP that gets contributed to your whole account, and it has its own battle pass, which you don't need to progress by playing the old game, but it's themed around the OG. That's the way to do it. Fortnite OG also has put in some of the modern conveniences, like the movement that has been developed over the years of Fortnite, that is widely accepted as more fun and enjoyable and makes the match more fun. Does WoW Classic do that, where they bring in some of the modern conveniences into WoW Classic?
They do, yeah. So like settings in the menus and stuff like that. For example, like you can have the resolutions nowadays that you couldn't back in the day. You can have the frame rates that you have now that you couldn't back in the day. There are some things that have been like changed in a version. So like, for example, in WoW Classic for like the Burning Crusade Anniversary Edition, the Anniversary Editions bring in some additional things. So like features that were available in later expansions, like dual specs, improved things here and there. All of those or some of those are kind of brought into the Anniversary Editions. So that, and don't get me wrong, there's classic WoW, there's a classic era, there's Mists of Pandaria classic, there's Burning Crusade Anniversary, there's World of Warcraft retail. There's far too many versions of World of Warcraft out there to try and keep track of like what mode has what. Like WoW Hardcore is WoW Classic, but if you die, that's the end of your character. Whereas WoW Classic, you can have your character move forward, versus Anniversary Edition, which brings in some of the perks of like being able to have 2 specs at once, which wasn't a thing. It's like there's some that have taken on the benefits of future stuff that you wouldn't necessarily have in the future. So with like a Sea of Thieves, a good example would be you could have the traditional Sea of Thieves experience, but you could give people the grapple gun or the harpoons, or you could give people the storage crates or the treasure chests.
Oh man, storage
and I don't
crates.
think
Remember a Sea of Thieves before storage crates?
I remember a Sea of Thieves before Barrel 2.0 where you just ran up and spammed X and you got that barrel had bananas in it, and we had bananas, and bananas were good enough.
I'll tell you what, I think a Sea of Thieves classic needs to be divorced from all but the fewest of modern conveniences. Obviously, technical stuff you see in settings should, I think, exist. But I think crucial to the early Sea of Thieves experience was how slow things were. That gave you more opportunity to do things. The longer you're at an island, the more you can get ambushed, the more you have to be looking at the horizon and such. If you do have the harpoon and it drops off things, you're in and out of there in 5 seconds. If I do have to bring back every piece of loot one at a time, and I can't run if I'm holding that one of the one-handed loots, I think that's actually kind of crucial to the old experience.
Yeah, and I think that I
don't want World of Events balanced. I need it to take forever, like we were talking about earlier. For the classic experience I'm talking about.
Yeah, and I think that really comes back to the question of is Sea of Thieves so old that it needs to have that experience? Because we're talking about World of Warcraft. Well, World of Warcraft is in its late 20s.
Sure.
As a game, Fortnite has been around since what, 2016, 2015. I'm trying to remember when Fortnite.
2017, September.
Was it 2017? Okay, so yeah, it was 2017. Google. I remember seeing the trailer for that at an Apple event, I think in 2016. So it's like those games are definitely like older games at this point. Fortnite being the youngest of the examples that we've talked about. And Sea of Thieves, I think, could go there if they wanted to, but is that the place that they should be going, or should they just move forward with a Sea of Thieves 2?
Listen, I'm already a little upset that we've got Custom Seas and Safer Seas to bog down development. Whenever there's something new added, they have to make sure those two are cool. The reason they cited getting rid of Arena. Let's be very clear. I love Safer Seas. I think Safer Seas should be the exact same copy of the game as High Seas. Everyone's going to disagree with me. I don't care. That's the way I feel. But the point is that their dev time is going to be wasted on these things that have most certainly a much smaller amount of players on it. Slowing down dev. You mentioned earlier them updating Custom Seas and it being something that not a ton of people are using. Here's what's going. Sorry, I had a mental block for about a moment. That they said, here, we're trying to show that we are committing to maintaining the thing we're adding instead of moving on. I can't. Yeah. They've picked, maybe, in my opinion, the poorest one to do that with. Custom Seas. What about all the other stuff that we've been begging for you to go back and do? I'm happy to see that there was such a big. They made a whole season out of. Here we're looking back at Hourglass and we're updating it to we're going back to giving it another look. I want to see that happen with other things that they've said in the past. Oh, we'll come back to it. Don't worry. Like Captaincy, go back to it, give it another look, give it another pass. And the fact that they're like, all right, we're going to do that, starting with Custom Seas, the thing right now that isn't really adding anything new to the game, and everyone's kind of worried that we're spending our time on. Not a great choice, maybe. What a shame.
What they have said, though, is they are going to be working on Last Ship Standing as well, too. So not just
cool. I'm so glad to hear that thing keeps getting pecked at. I feel like I've had the same update, 5 updates in a row. You can't keep featuring Last Ship Standing as your marquee thing. I'm sorry.
I think I would rather them continue to fix Last Ship Standing than leave it in the our ship is exploding at the end and we have to cut the event short.
Surely that's not what I'm talking about. Yes, fix it, make it work. But I'm making it a marquee thing each time. I'm getting a little tired of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I mean, that comes down to like, this is the roadmap for the foreseeable future. Mm-hmm. They are going to plan on having their live events be the main showcase for content until something big is ready. What that big thing is, is really going to depend on like where they feel comfortable. Is it going to be a rehash of the Kraken experience? Is it going to be like a new item that you carry around it that earns value the longer you hold on to it to try and incentivize players from leaving the server? I think the focus of Rare trying to keep players on one server is a little bit of a misunderstanding on what players want from the experience on Sea of Thieves. I think players want to have an experience where they are running into other players and having those kind of interactions. And instead of keeping players locked on a server or incentivizing them to stay on a server, they just need to have things that are compelling to do on the server while that is going on. Because otherwise, because people were jumping to other servers long before there was diving. True. Diving just helped facilitate that function while maintaining supplies. Whereas, players that had to jump from server to server had to go into things with less supplies, which was the challenge. Could you actually go and actually, steal a Fort of Fortune on a server that you dove to with the supplies that you could muster on the way? Because you never knew like what the current state of that experience was going to be, kind of a situation.
Listen, I'm ready. I'm here on your last regularly scheduled episode, ready to make everyone angry. I can't leave without doing this. Everyone wants new content. Yes, I want it too. But you know what I think is the answer? Removing content. They've just experimented with removing the ability to dive to world events. Whatever the reason being, whether or not that's the reason you like it or not, I'm happy to see it. We were talking about seeing, what's classic Sea of Thieves like. I was doing the other day, what did I do? For some reason, I had to kill a wave of skeletons. Oh, I remember it was. I got the new voyage from the season, which was like Reaper Captains or something like that. So I did the Reaper Captains quest, and it was waves of skeletons. I went, I cannot remember the last time I was fighting waves of skeletons for the Order of Souls. Wow, what a throwback. There are these ancient, decrepit things left in here that when I was hitting, I'm like, wow, this was actually kind of fun. And now everything is so, I feel like a boomer here. Everything's so fast. These kids today with their phones, everything's moving so fast. Things you just need to slow down. We've added so much. We've bloated this, and we're talking about going back to a Sea of Thieves classic that I remember one of the best states the game ever was in was when one of the best things to do, one of the things you were really excited to do was when you reached level 5 of your emissary and you did the emissary quest. Who does the emissary quest anymore? Holy shnikes, nobody. There's always something way more valuable to do, more you might think more fun to do and all that. I think now that they've shown, hey, we're willing to look at something and go back on something. I think they need to keep doing that. I think they need to keep peeling back and get back to what was a core fun of the Sea of Thieves. That's what I think would be very, very good and fresh for this game. Now, this is probably the worst time to do it now because right now there's been such a content drought and people are going to scream, you're removing stuff instead of giving us new stuff. Dead game. Who's running this thing? I don't think, listen, here's another controversial thing that people don't want to accept, but it's true. Players need to be protected from themselves. Absolutely. I've played, I can't think of it off the top of my head, but there are certainly things in games I've played before where I'm like, I'm not having fun doing this, but this is the most efficient way to do this. And as soon as they patched out that exploit or that little trick or whatever, I'm like, I'm back to having fun again. You need to put certain limits on your players, certain guardrails, just needs to happen. Otherwise, people will always go to those things, even if they're less fun, the more efficient things and all that. You need to protect people from themselves. And when the most efficient thing is to, say, dive to a world event or to do this or that, instead of going back to doing some of the more fun content or more of the more basic content, you might need to start looking back at what you've done and peeling it back a little bit.
I can see an argument for it. I think it's really going to depend on who you talk to when it comes down to like what is the way that they want to play the game. At its very core, I think there are other things that they could absolutely shift to try and improve like the enjoyment of the game. But at the end of the day, I don't think that any of like what they plan to do with content or not do with content is going to matter. I think the focus truly for the team right now is to try and ensure that they address some of the major issues with the game when it comes to stability, when it comes to patches, when it comes to content. I think the trouble right now is that everything that's come to the game has been absolutely broken. I think the Build Rat Weekender this time was actually the first time where I logged in during a Build Rat Weekender, and I actually got to see what the list of stuff was. You got your list?
Hey!
I didn't actually have to go to social media to find out what it was. I didn't have to go look on my Discord in the official channel to see, where's my we're aware issue. I haven't seen that. What about
stabilization by reduction? We start removing some of these things, and there's less things there anymore that are breaking.
I think that's an assumption that's what would happen.
Fair enough.
You mean to tell me that you think that them removing something from the game that's tied to something else isn't going to just absolutely destroy the code for the thing that it's connected to?
Listen, I think diving has broken the game, not because of the number of times it lets me interact with players and how it leaves servers empty, so alleged. I think it was the bloat it added. All the new loot it added, and your ability to keep doing, I just want to keep hitting, say Ashen Lords over and over and over and over again. It's good for the combinations because they always overtune them. But if you could revert that entire thing, I think that would do wonders for the game. People would start valuing a lot of other loot way more now. It's the highest loot again. Instead of, it's just such a bloat. Go ahead, try to name for me all the Order Souls loot, dive loot compared to the regular loot. I'm not asking you to do that. I'm asking listeners to try to think about that. Go ahead, just try to think of that. Good luck with coming up with that list.
Okay. I do want to address the availability of loot, because I think as far as like standard bounty skulls, you've got the foul, you've got the disgraced, you've got the hateful, you've got the villainous. For the ashen bounty skulls, you've got the ashen foul, the ashen disgrace, the ashen hatred.
It's like watching the guy collect every skull and it fills the whole map.
You also have the ghostly treasures, which has the skull of the damned and then the captain skull of the damned.
Can you even name the loot you get from diving? The skull loot?
The skull loot from diving? What are you talking about?
The skull loot that appears when you dive to a voyage.
Are you talking like the high value raid loot where it's like the skeleton captain's skull that's dropped from skeleton ships and emergent skeleton captains? Or are you talking about the stronghold skull sourced from skeleton?
Neither, my dude. Or the ashen winds? This is where it comes in. The loot you get when you dive to a voyage. I haven't gotten through all of.
Oh no. So I haven't gotten through the full list because I didn't even get a chance to talk about the Siren Treasuries or Shrines, which actually have the full foul coral skull, the disgraced coral skull, the hateful coral skull, or the villainous coral skull. But are you talking about those, or are you talking about something else entirely? Because I can keep going.
Yeah, please stop.
I think right there is the main issue that we're running into is that there is so much treasure in Sea of Thieves that it's definitely not about the gold anymore. But I think that the gold was always the driving factor for why there were engagements in Sea of Thieves. And I think that that's what they tried to fix with the doubloons. I don't know that I necessarily think that worked the way that they hoped it would. And as a result, I don't see there being a fix for gold. At that point, I think you have to try and just move forward with a new game and fix the issues with how they develop economy in a new game where you have a fresh pirate and new cosmetics to chase after and story to go after and stuff. Because otherwise, at this point, I don't think there's a fix. I don't think that there's a way that you could fix it.
Listen, the same advice a cook will give you. Reduce, my friend. We've gotten to, oh my gosh, we used to, years ago when I was on this podcast, I said, I'm afraid for the new player that jumps in. Today, a new player trying to figure out what the heck is going on, what you get where, good luck.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree with you. I think there's a lot to go in, but at the same time, I don't think that a new player really understands the breadth of the issue, and they are just running into people, or they're finding stuff.
Yeah, no, a new player's going to have a good time because there's a bajillion things to do for them, for sure.
Yeah, and it's less of
they're not feeling a lack of content.
Yeah, they're not feeling like they're overwhelmed by how much you can go do. They're picking one thing or just sailing around and finding something and then calling it good.
I see these has always had the a shiny right here, and then gets distracted with that. There's a million things for them to get distracted with. They'll never complete their voyage, and that's fine.
Yeah, I think that's always the case. It always comes around to this idea of like we're inventing the problems for other people who are just enjoying the game.
Another one of my favorite updates, by the way, was certainly when we got, and it was kind of Telltale adjacent, the voyage. What was the Athena voyage called, where you go and get the stones?
The Siren Song quest.
No.
The ones where we had to. Oh, the Athena Fortune one.
Yeah, what's it called? Veil. Something Veil. Legend of the Veil.
No, because Legend of the Veil is where you go to the different chapters of the Veil voyage.
Yeah, that's I like that. That's a good one.
The Veil voyage was good. They never updated it beyond what they said they would. They just always kind of kept it to the same.
I think it was great. I like that voyage. That's a great voyage, and it's very Telltale adjacent. It's like a Telltale mix with a voyage. Even
I'm
the Pirate Lord appeared to you and talked to you and all that.
Yeah, but it was always locked to time. They never, that was one of my main criticisms that I had back in the day is that it was it was always going to be stuck in time based on like when people played it, and they were going to sit there and wonder, is like,
so we're all the Telltales. I'm fine with it.
But this isn't a Telltale. It's a voyage.
It's a nice blend of it. That's what I'm trying to say. Is I like that it's a blend.
That's fair, but also like, do you think about the time frame that the Reaper voyages are? Like, do you know who the Widow is, or do you care like who the Widow is? And is that going to matter in 2 years when we've like done away with the Widow and the Widow is no longer relevant?
Oh, I disagree. I like that you can go and sort of re-experience the time and see some progression of story.
Athena's run on Thieves Haven.
Oh, I can't believe that. Reduce. Bring that one back. Why is that gone?
No, God, that one was so boring.
How dare you? The only thing being made boring was when it first came out,
islands.
And it was the only source of loot that had a high rate of having to collect. What do you call it? Oh my gosh.
It was the only one where people were like, this is the best way to get
grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5. What are they called? Commendations. Its commendations were huge. So you had to play a ton. Aside from that was great.
No, it
fight me.
Everyone was I remember people complaining about the fact that they're like, because people weren't even getting the gems. They just wanted the actual Athena loot, because it was the only voyage that you could actually get Athena loot in. Except for the chest at the end of a standard.
And then
Athena's
what came out
Fortune
was
voyage.
Your grade 5 voyages, and then you could get all that loot in a more efficient manner. That was the bee's knees, man.
I mean, it was good because it was the best we had.
That's good. I want a reason to do those voyages. Protect the player from himself. Those are fun things to do. I don't ever do them because there's other things to do. But if they were there and I was actually forced to do the fun thing. But I'm a completionist. I'll never do the fun thing. Ever.
I think we're speaking to
You know what I don't want to do really a lot of is Last Ship Standing. I'm going to win the amount I need to do to get the cosmetics. Whether or not I'm having fun with it or not. Let's make that much clear. And there are too many people like me.
Caleb, I think your caps log is stuck.
Stuck, sir. I've removed it so I can't turn it off. That's a feature.
At the end of the day, though, I think everyone's going to have, genuinely, I mean this, I think everyone's going to have different ideas of what the perfect Sea of Thieves is for them. And I do genuinely worry that like going in to try and remove something will inexplicably harm the experience for other players. which is a tough thing to balance. Like I'm sure there's people who love diving to world events and don't mind the loot that was there. They liked the on-demand experience of the world event that they enjoyed doing.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think that is unfortunately, I think it'll be to the betterment of the health of a server. But that really does kind of like, it depends on who you're talking to.
Yeah, anyone would be foolish to say that we're not going to lose something in the reduction. Not having the ability to dive to world events may give you a lot of benefits, and you may be a better ratio of the cost benefit analysis. But you can't deny that there is going to be some downsides, and it will stink that, hey, if you want to go and fight an Ashen Lord right now, you're going to have to wait for it, jump servers, and hope you find it. I feel that way when I want to do a Burning Blade. I never want to do it when I can when there's finally one on my server, and when I do want to do them, they're nowhere to be found.
Yeah, I very much agree.
Because it is cool. Once in a while, I want to be on that huge ship. I don't even want to go do the forts and the orbs and anything. I just want to have a huge ship and go around the Sea of Thieves and do some of the things I want to do in the open world stuff with the big ship.
Yeah. Yep. I would
wanted
agree.
to do that. The achievement to do 100 miles with the Chest of Sorrow on your ship. I wanted to do that on the Burning Blade. I'm like, I get the galleon speed, but it's all manageable as a solo sailor the way that ship is set up. And I just couldn't find one with also a Chest of Sorrow, just because you can't dive to it. It's got to be emergent.
Yep. It's a shame in some cases, but I mean, I think it just depends on like, where are you going with your with like each session, and what is the thing that you want to accomplish. And the availability has been good in some cases, and in some cases it's been a detriment. So it's tough to try and find that balance. And I think that that's something going forward with Sea of Thieves, is they are going to have to try and take a look and see what is the thing that is going to be the most successful for a broad group of people, and in the development of their content. How many people are going to be invested in the continuation of the story for the GMU or the Widow or the Ancients? Was the Ancients a good plot line for them to push forward with their story, or should they have focused more on Flameheart versus Pendragon and stick to the Dark Brethren court? Or should they have genuinely just said like, hey, we are going to focus on a Pirate's Life 2 because we have a contract with Disney to have like two sets of stories to tell, and they got one in, and they have a second one that they can do, but they just haven't figured that out yet. Should that have been the main focus? Also, why isn't Sea of Thieves on Switch 2? It seems ridiculous at this point to where I had to just go out and buy an Xbox Ally X.
Do not you dare ask them to put it on inferior equipment, as we're still desperately trying to get away from the old Xbox.
I don't know what you're talking about. It has not been a detriment for us to have the game in its current state. It has only been a boon for us to continue in making available the Xbox One and Xbox One S and Xbox One X for Sea of Thieves.
It was interesting. They mentioned in the panel one of their ideas was to have the Burning Blade and then also the Athena's Fortune out in the world to fight each other. And they were like, the limitations wouldn't let us do that.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen that. I think that would have been really cool. Imagine two giant ships like the Burning Blade in the middle of the seas, like with storms and stuff. And then having other ships come and try and, like you start to run into that situation where you're like, you got that third party coming in. Is that third party going to be one that actually picks the Burning Blade, or are they going to pick the Athena's Fortune? And kind of build out that like war between the two factions. I genuinely think that could have been a great opportunity for them. And again, this kind of goes back to that idea. I don't know what the engineering limitations are, what the server performance limitations are there, what they tie to for years they've said that the older generation of hardware has not been the reason why they've been why they've had issues with performance. I believe it's solely resting on the shoulders of the Azure servers that Microsoft forces them to use. I've heard from other studio people who said, yeah, the reason they've had trouble is because of the Azure servers. And I think that there's got to be, where there's smoke, there's fire. So I think that I would love to see them kind of like take the learnings that they've had with Sea of Thieves and move forward with a Sea of Thieves 2 in the same way that I think Destiny 1 was amazing. And they really Bungie accomplished something truly on the level of like creating a second IP that does as well as Halo, and harboring that for so long and trying to make it amazing and stuff like that. I think that when they moved from Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, they truly like accomplished something. They moved people from one IP to the sequel in such a way that paid tribute to the original one while not killing their IP by splintering the community between two game modes, in the same way that I think like a lot of people were like, why would I play Overwatch 2 when Overwatch 1 is just fine? What is it about Overwatch 2 that makes it better? It was a new engine. It was them doing a whole bunch of things, but they couldn't convince people to jump from 1 to 2. Sea of Thieves, I think, could have that opportunity to go from 1 to 2, but if they sold me on 2 as having the ability to expand on the world and the ship types and everything that like that we've wanted with a new engine, with them being able to take the lessons learned in a live service, I think it would do really well for them to be able to move forward with that. I don't think that they have the power to the availability of devs or the knowledge they need to be able to accomplish that, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was just thinking, I'm a little bit afraid that that Sea of Thieves 2, what a hilarious prospect, because we're at the point where we don't know how long we're going to Sea of Thieves 1's going to survive. We know that Rare lost a lot of their projects, and I don't know if they've had like layoffs and stuff. It seems like every gaming company out there is having tons of layoffs. I'm afraid of how long Sea of Thieves is going to last. Is this what we're calling a content drought actually the end, and they're working on one last hurrah, and then hey, that's it for Sea of Thieves? We have it all set up now for recurring events, and the only thing you're going to get is new season cosmetics. After the passes will be new, but no more new content. It's a real fear of mine that this is we're winding down for Sea of Thieves.
I think they're honest about them still having a lot on the docket that they want to accomplish. I don't think that we will see them move into like like it feels like a maintenance mode. I think the live events is going to afford them an opportunity to alleviate some of that dev time to be able to focus on adding content to the game in the forms of like tall tales and stuff like that, especially if they aren't being forced to have monthly updates that include content that would normally go towards like a tall tale or time towards like a tall tale or Sea of Thieves 2. I think when they come out with AI companions on your ship that will take the place of other players, that is I think when they get the because right now we got the nerds on islands, and they help us out with quite a bit, and I don't think that we will have to worry about Sea of Thieves going into a maintenance mode until we start to see you being able to add bots to your crew to accomplish what normal people would do. And I think that the mentality there is what happens when there aren't enough people to sail a crew on a galleon, and you can't find as many people to be able to sail and play the game with you in Sea of Thieves anymore. And I think when you have to replace people with bots, that is when Sea of Thieves' player base is so low that you cannot fill the roles that you want to on the crew, on the ship size that you want. So that has yet to come. And I think
You think that's
right
your
now
canary in the coal mine?
Yeah, very much so. Very much so. When you can add bots to your crew, I think that is the canary in the coal mine for when Sea of Thieves is going into full on maintenance mode. When they are adding channels or adding I can't think of what I'm trying to say here, but avenues for people to still play the game without being reliant on other people to fill in spots or server spots for that matter. When you have full AI crew ships out there that you can battle and take on in a PvE mode that is like you're fighting other players, I think that is going to be the canary in the coal mine, that they are putting the trampoline or putting the safety net in place for players.
Could be.
But I don't see that being the case, because even though
I think we're all just waiting for them to tell us. We're just like, let us know. Let us know anything. We're just waiting for that.
I agree. I think that will come, but I think that will come in a form of we're looking to test these things in insiders. You don't lift the NDA on an insiders and then not put stuff in there to then try and like test out, so that you can have that surprise moment. Here's content. I think if you genuinely, if you do not test stuff in insiders and you say, hey, here's all this new content coming to Sea of Thieves, and you didn't put it in insiders, you are not building the trust of the community to believe that you have adequately tested the stuff that needs to be tested in the game, so that it will hit well when it actually comes to live servers.
Mm-hmm.
So,
people have been, hopefully they've been learning with the way they would publish before seasons. Here's what we want to do with the season. And then we don't always get what that is. The ideas are a dime a dozen. Real easy to have ideas. And we hear fun things on the panel where they can say, hey, we actually wanted the Athena's Fortune to go up against the Burning Blade. That would have been so cool. Saying that and getting to it's radically different. We saw that when there was the 3 Ancient Megs, ended up and released was only 2 Ancient Megs. I forget the update that was going to have loot crabs, and
that would be a good thing for Rare to go back and show that they want to stick to releases and not just let things die after an initial release. Where's that 3rd Meg? Huh? You talked about having a reason. You had a reason to look forward to that grade 5 emissary feature, where people don't do that voyage anymore. People get grade 5 and Hunter's Call to go find those ancient Megs. Let's add a 3rd ancient Meg so that people are running with grade 5 Hunter's Call flags again.
Yeah.
How about that, Rare?
That's not a bad idea. Go revisit some of these old ideas. Hammerhead sharks, loot crabs that came with like the jellyfish.
The
and
dodo.
All that.
Where's the dodo?
We had, what was the orb that was going to grow as you had it consume things. There was one other thing.
Yeah.
The point is, there's lots of ideas. The improved Mega encounter, Kraken encounter, and perhaps on-demand Kraken encounter. There's so many ideas out there that you can't be. I would say be wary of criticizing Rare for not having accomplished these things, because all they've done is part of the kimono a little bit, let you see these ideas early. They're sharing. Remember, I told you in the past, communicating is a bad idea. And the community is somewhat punishing them for them saying, hey, here's some ideas that we have. We're going to try to do these things. And they don't get accomplished. Go, where is it, Rare? Where is it, Rare? They let you in on real early. Be thankful that they showed you what they were thinking. Because these ideas they can spit out. I'm sure anyone at that company could say, here's a cool idea. And one of the devs would be like, that sounds really cool. I don't know if we can accomplish it. We'll add it to the list of ideas. You're never at a desert of ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that there's definitely some ideas that have pushed through that I'm genuinely confused by. One of them is going to be the upcoming Twitch drops from July 4th to July 29th. If you go watch any Sea of Thieves partner, you can watch for 6 hours and get a feline bandana. Caleb, we're getting cat ears in Sea of Thieves.
Let's go. 10 out of 10.
I know you. Yep. I know you enjoyed it when it came to Halo Infinite.
That's right, baby. Sport them off.
How do you feel genuinely about content like this that it feels like it's more of in service to fans.
I'm all about it. Listen, we've been saying for a while, holy crap, do something about your Twitch drops. I cannot get the same recolor of the Ash and Wind set. You're killing me here, brother. Or of was it the Morning Star set? So yeah, cool. I'm glad we're seeing get some discrete items that are cool, unique, interesting things. I, as a fairly cynical person, am seeing these as the items that you would normally get in the old style of Plunder Pass that we don't get anymore. They're just still making them. They're throwing them here into Twitch drops. Okay, that's the way I see it. But still, I'm happy to see Twitch drops that are worth getting.
Okay, so I am glad that they're doing unique things. I think it's great that they are like adding unique items like this. Like this is part of their hero drops.
Oh my god!
And
don't you dare! If I have to hear one more turn of phrase for their Star Prize hero drops, this is a special thing. I'm asking for new content. I'm not asking you to repackage content in a prettier bow, my dude.
So yeah, they're trying to gussy up some of the drops that honestly I agree would have been a unique thing for the Plunder Pass that we used to get when we had a whole bunch of free items and every couple of major tiers they had a unique item, especially for Pirate Legends. That was always kind of like the joy of being a Pirate Legend and it was honestly a drive for players in working through seasons to be the thing that they were like, oh, I wish I was a Pirate Legend at the time that this season was going on.
The new season UI is pretty good.
Oh yeah, I like the new season UI.
For a game who have a lot of bad things to say about its UI and its ease of use, the UI for that is pretty nice.
Yes, I will say that the design around the new season pass system is better. I definitely I do think that they could have alleviated some of the, people aren't really paying attention to what you get because it's just coming by so fast and there's so much that you get. I think if you made people go in and actually click on some of the major items, I think that would have alleviated some of the, I don't know when I got this thing. Was it a past season pass? Probably. Sure. I think that the way that they've kind of truncated some of the tiers has helped with that. Obviously it makes a lot more difference to get 50 levels as opposed to 100 levels. So you pay less attention, but getting back to the hero drops, because I think that these star prizes are truly some of the most interesting things that they've come out with. I personally have no interest in cat ears as a cat dad. To me, cat ears is fine. It's it's the equivalent of seeing a Razer headset that has ears on it. It's it doesn't faze me at all, but it just doesn't really fit in with the aesthetic of the game to me. In a place where I levy the same criticism is it doesn't make sense to have Halo cosmetics look the way they do in Sea of Thieves. It's very out there as far as a thing to add to the game, but to each their own. If you want this, I'm glad that you're getting it. If it's something that they put in, honestly, I feel like they could have just put it in with multiple colors as well too.
Listen, I got a fox mask already in Sea of Thieves. It's far more furry adjacent than this thing.
That isn't where I was going. It's just an odd thing to add to it. The fox thing, I think you could easily play off as you were as a hunter. You killed a fox and used it to make a headdress out of. But the one thing that I wanted to bring up that's going to be available in August is this Luminant Waters Lantern. Have you seen this?
Yes.
Have you heard about this?
Jellyfish?
Yes, is it a jellyfish, Caleb?
Well, is there a real ship in the Snow Globe one? No, but cool.
Okay, but case in point, we have real luminous jellyfish in the game. Why does this look like it is not actually a jellyfish? Why does it just look like a silhouette of maybe a jellyfish? It could just be
the other day.
A weird thing.
There's some weird bug going on right now where the lantern can be flipped around while you're holding it.
That bug, yeah.
And I had the Flame of Fates lantern, the one that is kind of like a grate with fire in it, and it's kind of floating a little bit, little ghostly, little Athena-y. And it was flipped upside down, and you could see clearly the 2D fire that they use for that. Lantern's got to use these sort of tricks in there. There's no real flame in there. Believe it or not, that blunder bomb, there's not a lot of modeled pellets in there. I'm okay with it. It's not upsetting me. I've got a lot of other, I think, more valid criticisms right now to share than this jellyfish.
Okay, I'm not disagreeing, but what I will say is that there is an opportunity for Rare to fix a potential failing on their part. In the same way, I will make the argument that, Caleb, didn't you want to have a Davy Jones that had wiggly tentacle beards?
Yes, I still want it.
So please, when I say I just want an actual jellyfish in this jellyfish globe of a hero drop, that it is not too much to ask.
No,
for
you
something
don't understand.
like that.
Something like that, it would only be available in the Emporium. Come on.
I disagree. I think it is a heroic drop.
No, you got to pay for that.
It would be very heroic of them to actually go and put in a true jellyfish.
Wait, there's a lantern I think I got in this new season pass that has like a fossil in it that seems to be 3D modeled.
The prehistoric.
You're right. If they've done that, they get a jellyfish in there, I suppose.
That's why I'm saying it doesn't seem crazy to me. I mean, we haven't
really seen it yet. We've seen a JPEG. Let's wait.
Look, they could have easily like put whatever they wanted out there. This is what they wanted. I'm just saying there's time.
Listen, I'm still mad I didn't interact with the orb at Christmas, and I don't have the Christmas orb. All right. So I don't want to hear nothing more about lanterns. I've got bad memories.
That's fair. All right.
So sad.
Well, Caleb, it's been 8 years in this podcast. It's been us covering stuff over time. I genuinely just at this point, when it comes to Sea of Thieves, and I think this kind of like goes along with the idea of what this podcast was, is I wanted to talk about Sea of Thieves. I was excited to talk about Sea of Thieves, but I didn't have anyone to talk to Sea of Thieves with, and me creating this podcast was my way of getting my thoughts and feelings out there. Now, 8 years down the road, I have had so many people that I've met and so many friends that I've made as a result of this game, as a result of the podcast. And I just want to say that I feel like the thing that I set out to do with Sea of Thieves, where I cover the news and I talk about the game because I'm excited to talk about it, has been accomplished. I feel like I set out to create something in a way to be able to talk to folks about this. And I'm glad that I feel like I've accomplished that. I feel like I've been afforded so many opportunities, both with, like the boatswain opportunity there that was, retroactively taken, but also having an Easter egg in the game, to be able to have like a community that has helped afforded the costs of the podcast, as well as like improvements to my setup to be able to do. There's been so much generosity with the community. I canceled a Switch 2 or a Switch console so that I could afford to go out to Sea of Thieves Fest, and the community came together and got me that Legend of Zelda Switch 1 that I still have like on the shelf that I will never get rid of. I can't be happier with what Sea of Thieves has given me in the sense of what I've been able to accomplish as a content creator in making friends and making content and learning about what to do with it. So even though I know I could sit here on my high horse and talk about all the things that Rare could do or couldn't do or should do with the game, at the end of the day, I'm just going to be real upfront and honest and say, I appreciate them having this game, if not just solely based on the fact that I've been allowed to create content for it, which has given me an opportunity to meet so many people in the world, and actually get to spend time with them, chat with them, sail with them, and just enjoy that aspect of like just living in general. It's given me a true sense of purpose, especially during a time when that has not always been the case.
Listen, you are doing an art form that is antiquated. People who run podcasts now do it on YouTube. They visual mediums. You have stuck to what an art form I greatly respect, and you've done it for a long time. That's something to be commended. And you've done it solo, as I'll re-compliment you on. It's a very, very difficult thing to do. It's something I don't have the courage to even try. I think you've got a lot to be proud of. And I want to show you something. I'm going to send you a link real quick. This is to my website. Go ahead and click on that and scroll down to the bottom for me.
All right. We're clicking on tblazer.net. At the very bottom,
you see
it says more coming soon.
Yeah, what's the title of that section?
That is podcast archives.
I try to preserve podcasts that are no longer available. And of the few I've reached out for so far, Tales from the Lich that we cited earlier has been the one to let me keep them up. You earlier talked about, maybe paying, maybe not paying to keep this podcast up. If ever there comes a day you've decided you don't want to maintain the archives of this podcast, I want you to reach out to me, and I will pay for and put up the old archives and keep this up for as long as I keep up everything. I'm very much into preserving this art form and the things that I got joy out of, and I certainly have from your show, and I would love to offer for you to keep it going.
I appreciate that. I will not say that I won't take advantage of that, because I definitely may in the future. But I think it is one of those things that I genuinely don't think is a huge cost investment for me, for the future of like what I want to do in life. But for me, I do not think that, I can skip having Disney Plus or HBO Go or something if it means having the opportunity to keep Keelhauled available for people, as to me a fantastic archive of the history of Sea of Thieves, because we have like YouTube as like a backup for this. We have YouTube that has like the history of like what Sea of Thieves was, but from a community perspective, the Keelhauled has kind of served as a way to take a time machine back to before the game launched, and then all the way through the game's launch in subsequent years, and how that was from a community perspective. And I genuinely do think I want to keep that running, which is why it's so hard for me to feel like I'm going to not be making future episodes for Keelhauled, because I it's like, this is kind of like a time machine back to different points in Sea of Thieves. For
certainly. Listen, it's the end of an era. I said to you before personally, like, and it seems to be what you're talking about doing. This doesn't mean that an episode never pops up whenever the passion hits you again, but this is the end of the regularness. This is the end of it being the focus, and we can all feel that, and we're all sad to see it go, but I think we all understand. And I want to bow out right now. I don't want to promote anything. I want to leave. Your listeners have been here for you for this whole time. They don't want me here at the end to muck up this whole thing. So please allow me to bow out so you can talk to your listeners one-on-one, as they've been listening to you for so long.
I appreciate that. As always, I do want to just take one moment to thank you for all the years of your friendship, but also coming in to help me create episodes when I didn't have the opportunity to do so, or to take over for me, to even get community members to come in, to jump in to do episodes on the regular when that's necessary. So thank you for helping me during these years of just being able to make content. I still maintain that I was able to create a successful Sea of Thieves podcast, and actually end it before GTA 6 actually relaunched. I think it's great to know that, it's taken this long it's been in the time between GTA 5 and GTA 6, podcasts have risen and fallen in the almost a decade's worth of time. But I just want to say to anyone that's listening to this, when it comes out, but also anyone that's coming into it down the line, that I was very earnest in my desire to create this podcast. I do not regret any of the content that I've ever made for it, any of the stuff that I've done as far as going out to events, meeting people, things that have happened, they've all happened for a reason. And I've always tried to do the one thing that I wanted to do when I set out to do this, which was make someone who plays Sea of Thieves and enjoy it have some sort of enjoyment when they can't be playing it. I think one of the things that has always been great about podcasts is giving players an opportunity to have that sense of camaraderie around something that they're passionate about when they can't be actively engaged with that thing. And again, it kills me to think that is not going to be the case. But I want everyone who's listening to this just to know that I'm going to miss this as much as you are. And I encourage people to step up and take the mantle, to continue making content in my stead, to create your own content, to have your voice heard, and know that, you know, everyone is coming at this from a different perspective, but that doesn't mean that anyone's opinion or perspective is any better than anyone else's. It's just yours. And that is still a valuable thing for people out there. You will find a reason to do something, and people will follow you for that. Caleb, we're heading out, buddy. Thank you so much for joining me for this last episode. I will encourage everyone to go check out Trailblazers or at tblazer.net and Trailblazer Academy. Tide Blazers is still a thing that is going to be coming out. That is the fun RPG that we did together in Sea of Thieves, using Sea of Thieves' RPG game itself. And I hope that folks get a chance to come and listen to that and have a good time enjoying that content with us. All right, pirates, that's going to do it for the Keelhauled podcast. Thank you all so much for your love, for your support, for listening, for everything. It really means the world to me. I hope you guys are all having a fantastic week. I hope you guys all take care of yourselves. And with that, pirates, thank you. I love you, and I look forward to sailing with you on the Sea of Thieves.